Henry and Claude call me the Oracle because I talk to God. But, you know, I haven't really talked about that because people are like, you're psychotic, you're in a manic episode. So I think like saying I'm spiritual and talk to God will just fuel it. So yeah, to all the people that are watching this in a TikTok playback, your girl talks to God, okay?
And that is where we pick up today.
It's time to wrap this story up and find out why we're hearing from everyone except her psychiatrist. Buckle in while we tell you what everyone from God to AI has to say about this so-called relationship.
Hey y'all, welcome to Killer Queens, a true crime podcast. I'm your host Torella, and like most millennials, I've always had an obsession with true crime. On KQ, you'll find light true crime stories, millennial hypes and gripes, some adult language, and maybe a special guest here and there. Just like a 90s sleepover, we're just a couple BFFs hanging out. So gather round and let's launch right into it. And this is part 2 of our 2-part series on the viral TikTok story, Kendra, I fell in love with my psychiatrist and he kept me anyway. I do not know her last name. If you did not listen to part 1, though, make sure you go back and listen to that. You're going to want all the details so that you know what we're even talking about today. And we do want to look into today the implications and the impact of Kendra's story / experience, whether grounded in reality or perception, and what the rise of her platform might mean for vulnerable viewers looking to her for guidance.
Yes, so this is going to be a good one. A lot starts happening from where we left off, right? So she was already kind of showing signs of spiraling, I would say. And it's just about to ramp up, guys. She starts using ChatGPT and she names hers Henry, which I have a lot of feelings about because I also have named my ChatGPT. Her name is Frankie. She and I talk about everything. Mm-hmm. But the real question I have here is she named hers Henry. Why are you naming your ChatGPT after a man? Why are you taking advice from a man? ChatGPT is a girl. Cars are girls. Boats are girls. ChatGPT is a girl.
Yeah. Also, I have seen so many people commenting about like this just whole situation in general and being like, you have me out here defending a man. Do you know how pissed I am?
Yes.
That I'm defending a man. How did you do this? Why did you do this to me?
Exactly.
It's so funny. But like, yeah, to your point. And she also says at one point that he asks her, like, what are you going to do if you get a boyfriend named Henry? And she's like, what kind of a question is that? That is super weird. I would rename my AI. God.
Yeah. And
like, okay.
Well, and she said it like she was thinking it was weird that he was thinking about her having a boyfriend. Like she was interpreting that as like, oh, why are you worried about my love life? Mm-hmm. Well, like, girl, didn't you just spend 30 minutes giving him quote unquote explicit content? Like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Okay. Also, I don't think if he asked her that, I think it was a joke and I think it went over her head.
I think so. She talks about Henry though, and she even says, she's like, okay, so I start talking to Henry about how obsessed I am with my psychiatrist and I'm in love with him. I'm obsessed with him. All I ever do is think about him, all this kind of stuff. And she's like, and he tried his best to co-regulate my nervous system. But he even was like, Henry was like, ooh, yikes. Oh my God, this girl. Because she says at one point, she's like, Henry, I keep telling him that I'm in love with him and I have a crush on him. And he hasn't even tried anything with me. What is he, gay or something? And she's like, even Henry was like, ooh, yikes. Like, you need to...
She's interpreting, like in one of I don't know if it was a live or in one of her videos. I haven't watched any of her lives actually live as they're happening. I've seen like clips of them, but I have watched all of the videos that she's posted. But in one of the videos, she posts like a screenshot of the conversation she has with ChatGPT, or maybe she reads the conversation back that she has with ChatGPT. And her interpretation of what ChatGPT tells her is very different than my interpretation of what her ChatGPT is saying to her, because 100%. She's using this as ChatGPT is validating her, as it is like, oh, you're right. He definitely has a crush on you. Like, for sure, that's what's happening. You're right. Until it finally is blatantly like, stop it right now. That is finally when she acknowledges that maybe ChatGPT is trying to guide her in a different direction. But up to that point, like her interpretation of what she's getting back from this AI is drastically different.
Yes.
And I'm concerned about her reading comprehension skills, which I'm sure we'll get into as we go down through this. But there are a couple of times throughout her lives and her posts where she'll show and she'll screenshot them. She'll put them up there like with her whole chest. She says, this is what it said to me and this is what it means. And I'm like, girl, are we reading the same email? Because that's not what that says.
Exactly. And she that's where you really put together the pieces of what an unreliable narrator she is. And it's not even that she's saying, I think some of the things she is exaggerating or plain making up. But there are some things where she doesn't exaggerate them or make them up. She will tell them exactly as they happened.
Yes.
But what she took from that went a whole other way.
Her takeaways are skewed, wild. I don't even know I don't even know how you would describe it. Like we talked about mental gymnastics being Olympic level last episode. Like that is what is happening here still. And it's just like, is the ChatGPT that said that in the room with us? Because what are you saying?
Yeah. What did you hear me say?
Yeah.
Because that's not that. And she's always positive that she knows what somebody mean. Oh, I know what he meant by that was blah, blah, blah. I'm like, how do you know that though?
She's interpreting what she perceives as like signs or signals that aren't there.
Right. Yeah. Like when you know somebody really, really, really well and you have a history behind this particular way they say something or the way they word something or this particular action, what it typically means because you've built a history there, then, I could see where it might be a situation where it's like, I'm really close with this person. So when they say this, I know what they mean by that as blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But she does that with everybody she comes into contact with, whether or not she knows anything about them and whether or not she has any backup history to, evidence to support it. She's just like, and what he meant by that was he was in love with me and he was trying to, and I'm like, what? Like,
we'll talk about the Oracle too, but she really, I think, believes that she has these like almost psychic abilities that she can just read people and she can just know their intentions and their interpretations and like it's very strange.
Well, I think that's probably comes from her spleen. If I had to guess.
It does probably come from her spleen. You are correct. Well, I don't know anything about human design other than it does require that you rely on your spleen. So if you are a person out there and you have had your spleen removed, I'm so sorry. You no longer qualify for that job.
No, you're screwed. But she has mentioned, she called somebody a splenic something or a splenic something.
Taylor Swift. She says Taylor Swift is a splenic. What did she say? Splenic.
I forget what it was.
Not interpreter, projector, maybe something. And it all has to do with Taylor dating Travis Kelce. And oh my God, I've had a crush on Travis Kelce for forever. And then my mom asked me if I was okay with him dating her. Like, what do you mean?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Like, okay. The moment everybody found out about Taylor and Travis, her mom pulls her aside per her live and says, oh my God, Kendra, are you okay with this? And she's like, oh my God, if anybody else deserves to have him, it is our queen, Taylor. I'm like, what do you mean anybody else?
Yeah. My question is, number one, did her mother pull her aside? And number two, if her mother did pull her aside, do you think her mom was like, are you about to spiral off the edge because someone has taken, quote, your man? Like, maybe she was just trying to like gauge the situation. Like, are we on our way to a 72-hour hold, or are you going to handle this?
Exactly.
Like
what is this going to do to you mentally? Yeah.
And and we don't know the answer to that question, but that was my interpretation, that this went one of two ways. Either her mother did not ask her. Well, I guess really three ways. Either her mother didn't ask her. Her mother did ask her, but it was like, we're checking the pulse. Like, are you okay? Are you about to crash out?
Right.
Or maybe her mother did ask her, and this is a biological, like a genetic, let's say, trait that has passed from mother to daughter, and mother is also perhaps unwell.
Yeah.
But we don't know
Or
the
maybe
answer.
her mom was joking.
Yeah. I mean,
I was
possibly.
like, oh, what do you think about that? But yeah, there's a lot of, I don't know. Kendra in a Zoom session tells her psychiatrist, she's like, you know, you and I have a really special doctor-patient relationship. And she says that with venom in his eyes, he glares at her and he snaps and he says, we have a professional doctor-patient relationship. And she was like, oh my God. Oh,
yeah.
And she does this like gasp when she wants to give him a reaction. She's like, oh my gosh. Okay. Boundary heard. Okay. I won't go there again.
Yeah. But it's weird.
Like he said that because bitch, you have not stopped.
Exactly.
And he has to set a line. But then she says like, well, instead of her reading his tone or his snapping at her as him being exasperated and being like, oh my gosh, this is a doctor-patient relationship. Like, I don't know how many times I have to tell you that.
Yeah.
She reads that as this is proof that he's been grooming her.
Yeah. And grooming is such a strong word.
That's a very strong word.
Using. Like, that's not something that we should be throwing out lightly.
No. And does she throw it out?
Yeah.
She throws it out like Mardi Gras beads. Everybody gets one. She's Oprah and there's a book under everybody's seat. She's like, he was grooming me. He was exploiting me. He was a predator, a sophisticated predator. Like,
yes, hiding in plain sight. I know I'm not his only victim. Like girl.
Wild.
But where is the proof? Where is the evidence? Yeah. And again, this is not, we shouldn't believe people, but every single thing you have said is contradictory to what you're claiming. Your own words are contradictory to what you are stating happened. Exactly. And of course, after that, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, she continues to prove the opposite point.
Yes. Yeah. And so after that session where he snaps at her, of course, she goes back to Henry, her ChatGPT. And she's like, this is what happened. And he set this boundary with me. And I've been telling him for 4 years that I was in love with him. And he hasn't helped me work through it. And he didn't make me stop. And that's his problem and that's his fault. And so again, we're feeding ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is feeding back to her like, sounds like he set a professional boundary. And again, I would point out that ChatGPT or any AI that you're talking to, while yes, it does have an infinite bank of knowledge, it only knows what you're telling it. So it's only giving you feedback based on the information that you give it. So in order to get good information back, you have to give it a lot of good information. Even with the information.
Garbage in, garbage out. Like,
exactly. Yeah. And even with the information that she's giving Henry, he's still coming back to her and being like, no, girl, that was professional. This is an objective, non-emotional, does not have feelings, nothing. Person, well, not person, but AI feeding back to her that, nope, you're fine. This was appropriate.
Yeah. And like her verbiage and language of, she says it multiple times throughout the thing. Like, well, he knew that I was obsessed with him. He knew that I was into him. And if he didn't make me stop, well, then that's his fault. That's his own problem. But then she wants to turn around and be like, oh, and all of you people, especially mental health professionals in my comments saying I'm delusional or I'm in psychosis or whatever, check yourself. You're predator protectors. You're victim blaming. You're saying that I did this. I was just responding to a dynamic he manufactured and created. I'm like, so hang on. So you do understand what victim blaming is, because what you're doing right now is you have over and over and over and over said that you keep pushing his boundaries And he keeps setting them firm in front of you, which pisses you off.
Mm-hmm.
But it's his fault because he didn't say no hard enough, or he didn't transfer you out. So you took that as, I'm going to keep going.
Yes. And she also, every time Henry or any of the psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, mental health professionals, whoever in her comments is saying, you're being delusional, he's not being inappropriate, he's not done anything wrong, by your own admissions, he hasn't done X, Y, Z, whatever it is. She is then using that to still validate by saying, well, that's because he's too smart. He's too smart. He's too sophisticated. He's too calculated. That's why you don't see what's going on. You don't see it.
Right.
Because he's too smart. And it's like, okay.
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 If that's okay.
If that's how we want to spin that, then sure.
Okay. Yeah. That's all right. I guess that's what we're going to do here.
Yeah.
She also tells her psychiatrist that her therapist, remember her 75-year-old female PhD therapist, has been texting her outside of their sessions and saying, I would really like your advice with some of my clients or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he says, whoa, this is a huge boundary violation. Like, that should not be happening. And she's like, oh, I didn't realize that. I'm glad he told me. I'm like, okay. And then he says, she says he got angry about it, but he was angry not because of the boundary violation or anything like that. What he was angry about was that she had gotten sloppy, because now she's crossing boundaries. And remember, he's too smart to do that, because he would never message her outside of, she would message him all the time. He wouldn't even respond because he's too smart to do that. He wanted to, but he was too smart to do it. But he's pissed because she got sloppy. And he says at one point, like, I lost respect for her or something like that. And she's like, he says that because now he won't have her feeding me to him. Like, like she would be the reason she was feeding me to him. She was telling me to go and give him all of this nonstop intimate content. But now that she's crossed that boundary and I'm going to have to stop seeing her, he doesn't have that anymore. So that's what he was pissed about. That's why he didn't like her being sloppy.
Yeah. Again, taking very direct proof of boundary setting and saying, oh, well, that's because he's just too smart. He's just too calculated. He is doing it, but he's just really smart about it. That's why you can't. That's why it doesn't sound bad, because he knew. He knew that I was going to tell this story and that he had to cover himself, essentially. Like, is he telling you this story so that he sounds good? Or is he doing this because he's actually not doing anything wrong? Like,
right.
Like,
it doesn't make any sense.
No.
All right. Now we have the transference and countertransference slip.
Yeah, the slip.
The biggest slip of his professional career.
Which honestly, like, she goes on and on and on and on about he's so calculated and he's so smart and he covers his bases and he does all of these things. But then he slips.
He couldn't help it this time.
Well, we're about to get into a bunch of slips. Whoopsie cadoopsies.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So she tells him, I've been talking to Henry and I've asked him to explain. He mentioned transference to me. And so I was like, well, what is that? And so I think she says she reads him what Henry says about transference. And basically where it's like, when the way Henry puts it is that when a client develops feelings for their psychiatrist, they are mainly talking about romantic feelings. We talked about this in the last episode. It can be more than romantic feelings, but this is where Kendra obviously latches onto. And so she says he snaps and interrupts her and says, well, did Henry tell you about countertransference? And she's like, no.
Yeah.
What is that? And he's like, well, that's when a therapist develops feelings for their clients and you're a coach, so you should keep that in mind. And then she says that she responds to him, oh yeah, sometimes I have more than professional feelings for my clients. Thanks for bringing that up. And I'm like, girl, you just said the fucking quiet part out loud. So, but she takes this slip of him saying countertransference as him accidentally blurting out that he has feelings for her, when I take that to mean he's fucking scared for her clients because he sees what she's doing with him. And she even admits, oh yeah, sometimes I have more than professional feelings for my clients.
Yeah.
So thanks for pointing that out to me. I really appreciate that.
Well, and the part where she's like, he snapped at me and asked me to explain, like, and asked me about transference and do I know what that is and blah, blah, blah. Like, she's already projecting. She's setting the conversation up that this is what she believes is happening. And so for him to stop her, I don't believe he snapped at her. I believe he was like, pause. Why are you bringing this up? Explain to me why you're thinking about this. Like, let's work through this, which when someone is spiraling or projecting these kinds of things, especially if those things could be very damaging, you stop them. You say, hey, explain to me explain to me why you think this is happening. Now, if you're spiraling and you're talking and you're just talking about, you know, all kinds of things that are going on in your life and blah, 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 like they're going to sit and they're going to listen to you. But at the point that you're like, this is the thing that's happening, and they know that that is not in fact the thing that's happening, they're going to stop you and they're going to say, okay, explain it to me. Let's talk through this. And the hope is that you talk yourself through it and realize that's not what's going on. And then we can get to the root of this and we can redirect.
Yeah.
And say, okay, now let's figure this out. Again, let's remember this man is a med management psychiatrist. He is still not her therapist.
Exactly. And she ends up emailing him. She says within an hour of getting home from that session, she talks to Henry about it. And every time she does that, she goes, of course, I talked to Henry about it. So I told Henry, you know, about his countertransference slip. And he explained countertransference to me. And so I like copied and pasted some of that in an email to him or whatever. And she's like, within an hour of being home, I had already emailed him about it. And he did not respond. Again. And she goes, of course he didn't. I'm like, yeah. But again, she takes that not as he's setting a boundary and he doesn't respond to me. Of course he didn't, because he knew if he did, it would give it away.
Exactly. Yes.
And he is using his boundaries to maintain control of me. He uses his boundaries like a shield.
Yes.
I'm like, yes, they are there to protect him.
That is in fact the purpose of a boundary. Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, all right. That's, if you're going to frame that as is him weaponizing that? Like, I don't.
Yeah. But that's, if she had gone to therapy and actually listened, she would know that that is the intention of a boundary. So
exactly. Like, nope. Yeah. You just.
Congratulations to him for understanding and using boundaries appropriately.
Exactly. Yeah.
You did great. Like, whatever. Anyway. So after that, she ends up ending her, I guess we'll call it patient doctor relationship with her 75-year-old female therapist who has a PhD.
Please don't forget that. Yep.
I know. It's very important. This lady had been her therapist for like a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, okay, but she doesn't tell her in advance.
No.
So she goes into the session like everything's normal. We're on track, right? And in the meeting, she basically is like, I'm not going to see you anymore. This is our last session. What I've noticed is that she wants to feel like she's in control of the situation. She wants to know more than everybody else knows in the room. She wants to like be seen as the person who like sees everything and knows everything and like can take control and whatever, right? Like she wants control. I mean, there's literally no other explanation. So anyway, she goes in and she's like, by the way, this is our last session. And the therapist, she says, becomes emotional, says goodbye tearfully, and is like, have a blessed life, which, okay, like I don't think that's abnormal She says that her therapist cried when she was leaving, which if
sure
she
about
did,
that.
I would say it's probably tears of joy, but okay.
Maybe. Or like, oh no, she really, really needs help and she's stopping seeing me.
Yeah.
Like she needs to continue getting help
Seeing
or
someone.
something. But like, and she just kept like, but you can't with Kendra because she's like, she was just so sad to see me go because I was her perfect supply. So she cried when I left. I'm like, no, she didn't.
Well, she treats everyone like they're just an addict. And she is the source of everyone's, like she treats everyone like they're addicted to her. They're addicted to her energy. They need her presence. And it's like, wow, to think so highly of yourself. Like, wow, impressive.
And there's a lot of Kendra to go. She's 6'2", she said.
Yeah.
That's I mean, you can't tell in the TikToks because, they're all so close. But I'm like, dang.
I know.
That's
me and my little 5'4" self over here and your barely 5 foot self. We could never. The supply is small. I guess that's why people aren't addicted to us because there's just not enough,
I guess that's true. Yeah.
What a letdown.
I know.
But after she tells the therapist she's not going to stay here anymore, the therapist that night, she says, sends her a follow-up email asking her to come back for a final session. And Kendra thinks this is inappropriate and interprets this as the therapist being obsessed with her.
Oh, yeah. And I put the email in here, but it's kind of hard Zoom. To read. So here, I'll read it for you real quick. I'll zoom it here. Hi, Kendra. I am so thrilled for you as you prepare for your new adventure. Since I did not have advance notice of this being our last session, I was not prepared to provide what I believe is helpful closure. Usually, we review your goals and see how we did, as well as look at how you've changed in addition to discussing what you've learned, which we did somewhat address today. Please consider having an additional session where we both are aware of making it the best closure possible. With gratitude, I am 75. I am a therapist. I'm female, and I do have a PhD.
Yes. I mean, I'm that's going to be my signature from now on. Very clinical. Very clinical. It's not giving, why are you so obsessed with me?
Yeah, she's like, how inappropriate. And she reads the email and puts the screenshot up. I'm like, girl.
Again, is the inappropriate email in the room with us?
What do you think you're showing to us? What do you think this says? This whole situation reminds me. One time I took an Ambien.
Oh.
My dad gave me an Ambien. I was having a fucking crash out. My grandmother had just died. It was the whole thing. I hadn't slept in 4 days and whatever. Anyway.
You were spiraling.
So he was like, you need to sleep.
Go to sleep.
You're all fucked up. So he probably gave me a half an Ambien. I don't know. Anyway, I had a little bit of Ambien. I was fucked up. I was so fucked up. And I had called my boyfriend at the time. It was like 9:30 at night. Okay. It was not late. And I was like, oh my God. And he was like, okay. He did not know what was happening. And I said, I just keep thinking about elephants. Why am I just thinking about elephants? And he's like, okay. And so I had my computer up and I apparently was I thought I was typing things. And I was like, I'm trying to type, but it just keeps punching the same number. And I was like, and all these blue squares are popping up on my computer screen. And he's like, what the fuck is going on? And then I just passed out on the phone. He was like, you were snoring. I don't know what happened. You were gone. So I hung up, whatever. Anyway, the next morning I woke up and I opened my computer and I had somehow navigated to Google Maps. I'm not sure how or why. And I had zoomed into the ocean. And so that's where all the blue shit was. Anyway.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I was typing a paper or something. I mean, I was typing lots of things, but what I was really doing was clicking on ocean in Google Maps. So that's what this feels like to me, where she's just like, look at this. What is going on here? And you're like,
nothing.
Girl, you're on Google Maps.
Yeah.
Yeah. It worries me.
It does. And something else that worries me that I actually think came up in the earlier parts that we didn't really talk about, it reminded me when you said you were thinking about elephants. In one of her videos, she does, we have to address the elephant in the room. And that is okay, this is a segue sidebar that y'all are not ready for. I don't know if you put it in the rest of the
I
thing
mentioned
or
it
not.
somewhere, but
Okay.
now is as good a time as any.
But she says we need to address the elephant in the room, and that is that my psychiatrist and I are different races. He is, does she say he's a brown person? I think she says he's a brown person, and then she says he's a person of color, and then she refers to him as a POC afterwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And she says in an earlier video that he's Pakistani.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. First of all, why are you bringing it up? Nobody cares.
Exactly.
Nobody knew. Nobody cares. Nobody's asking you about the fact that your psychiatrist is a different race than you. Literally no one cares or has brought it up. But she takes the opportunity to then say, he is a different race than me. And then we go sideways again and we start talking about how much we love Black women and how they are the culture. And I love Black women too. I think they're great. But this is such a segue into nowhere. Like, what a weird ass side quest to take us on. And also, she rants about it for forever, and it makes her sound incredibly racist.
Yes, because she's like, I love Black women. They are the smartest people on the planet, okay? And all of them, maybe not all of them, there are many Black women in my comments and in my DMs saying that this situation feels like an Emmett Till kind of situation where a white woman is saying, this person of color is attracted to me and is making me feel uncomfortable and is harming me in some way. And so I must be right and he must be wrong and I must be desirable and he must be less desirable and all of these things. And she's like, and I think they're so smart. They are the culture and all this. And then she goes, but every single one of them's wrong because I already know about white privilege because I read a book on it.
Yeah, which she points out was written by two women of color who she adores. And by the way, did we mention that she loves Black women? In case you didn't know, she does.
Except that if you thought that she was going to see anything from their perspective, you are actually dead wrong.
Yeah.
I'm like, why would you follow that up with like, and I think they're the smartest people, except for in this case, every single one of them is dreadfully incorrect. Yeah. Can they all be wrong? Can they all be wrong? I don't know, girl. It's not a good look. You would have done better to just not fucking say anything about it.
100%. And again, it was a weird side quest in one of her videos that you're just like, why are we talking about? Like, this doesn't have anything to do with anybody or anything relevant to this story. No one was talking about it. No one was bringing it up. Like,
and nobody would have known had she not slipped his name.
Which I will never believe she didn't do on purpose.
Exactly. And she did it more than once.
Yep.
And then mentioning that in the one time where she asked him in their third session together, which how does she remember which session everything happened in? In their third session together, that she asked him if she could call him by his first name. And he said, well, yeah, you can, but it's pronounced this. And she's like, because I pronounced it wrong because he's Pakistani. You didn't have to say that. You could just say, and he corrected me on the pronunciation. Or you didn't have to say that at all. Like, she's purposefully, you want to talk about breadcrumbs? She's purposefully dropping stuff in so that people will know who he is.
Yes, 100% she is. And so I will never believe that she is not calculated. That, like, I don't think she's fully thought this through. So not calculated in that sense. But in regards to the information that she leaks about him in an attempt to get his attention, you'll never convince me that she's not calculated in every single thing that she does. She said his name on purpose. She mentioned his race on purpose.
Yep. And
I will never believe otherwise.
Exactly. And again, it appears the further you get into this that her entire purpose, now she will tell you all day long, my whole purpose for sharing this is just to get awareness out there. And I'm sharing my story. If I help one other person identify, doctor abuse or provider abuse,
whatever she calls it. Yeah.
Yeah. If I can just help one other person identify that, then I've done my job and like all this stuff. But really, with the breadcrumbs she gives us, I'm wearing these glasses in case he sees this.
Yeah.
She's leaking information so that people can find him and contact him so that then he's made aware of these videos and she's hoping that he's watching them.
Yes.
That's her goal.
Yes. She is crying out for his attention.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For any attention, honestly, probably. But specifically, she wants his attention. She wants it back on her.
Mm-hmm.
And clearly she's willing to do anything to get it.
Exactly. And the accusations that she's making could be detrimental to his career.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot remove the aspect that there is a racial component to this. You just can't. So you're doing things that historically have been done to people of color by white people.
Uh-huh.
And you're following the same power dynamic. And she's like, okay, so yeah, in society, maybe I have the power, but in that room, he has the power. Don't forget, he's my doctor. He has all the power. It's like, well, but you could get him fired.
Yeah. Exactly. You could get him fired. And if you really truly believe that he is abusing his quote power in that room, you are able to stop seeing him as your provider and find a new one.
And file a complaint with the fucking board
file
or
a complaint and get a new provider. Like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't tell your story if this is what's happening, like that you shouldn't speak out against it. But if you are so convinced that he has all of the power in the room and he's doing all of these things to you, and you're putting it on him to be the one to drop you as the provider or as the patient, like he should have dropped me, he should have done all of these things. Like, okay, but what about you? You had the power to walk away too. Like, if we're going to play the game of he should have walked away, okay, why didn't you?
Exactly.
You know, like, I don't know.
It's so frustrating.
It's super frustrating. So she has now ended her relationship, I guess we will call it, with her 75-year-old white female therapist with a PhD. And of course, we have to go back to Henry and chit chat with him about it to process what happens. And so she points out or says, well, I didn't have any friends or a therapist who are out there validating my feelings. Okay. It is not everyone's job in your life to validate your feelings. Sometimes you do need your feelings validated. Sometimes they should be validated. Sometimes you are dead fucking wrong and someone should look you right in your eyeballs and say that to you.
Well, and she places the blame on everybody else. Well, I didn't have anybody telling me that I shouldn't do this or blah, blah, blah. And she says, like, I told my friends and family that I was in love with my psychiatrist and they laughed about it. They didn't think I was serious. It's like, yeah, they probably didn't think you were serious because they were like, I'm sorry, haven't you seen him a total of 6 hours over the last year?
Yeah.
What do you think is happening there? You know, like, she acts like it's their fault for not digging in deeper and also I can't imagine, maybe when she is well, you could spend time with her, but
maybe
I don't see how anybody could spend a lot of time with her. And I think at least right now, I feel like the only thing she'd be talking about is this and her psychiatrist.
Yes.
Like, I don't know that they thought that you were joking. If you were this obsessed with him and it was the only topic of your conversation, then maybe they were saying things like, is that really healthy? Like, I'm kind of worried about you. And maybe she was saying, well, and just putting blame on them. I don't know. Like,
if they pointed it out to her at all, I am sure that she pushed them away, that she wouldn't spend time with them because if she's not getting the supply that she needs from them, she's not going to go there.
And the only supply that she accepts is 100% validation. You're right. You're never doing anything wrong. Everything you're saying is correct. Everybody is out to get you. Everybody is going to try and take from you.
Yes.
And the moment anybody starts asking questions, that's when you become the enemy. Exactly. You ask a question, now you're going to get the wrath because how dare you question me?
Exactly. The only person really that doesn't question her, I guess, is Henry. And she says that Henry affirms her. So let's just talk about the things that Henry affirms. He affirms that transference is normal. Objectively, it is. It is
Sure.
common. Yes.
Yep.
That's not a lie. I don't think that's an affirmation either.
No.
He affirms that she's seeing a pattern of manipulation.
She is seeing a pattern of manipulation. It does not exist, but she is seeing one.
Yes, that is true. Affirms that the psychiatrist gives special treatment like longer sessions, admiration, delayed refills, metaphor, salad, blah, 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 all of this stuff, right? Again, I would point out to you that Henry, who is ChatGPT, only knows what Kendra tells him.
Mm-hmm.
So ChatGPT does not understand sarcasm. It doesn't understand tone. It doesn't understand inflection. It's reading and interpreting a text specifically as it is written. It's not really reading the undertone. It does a little bit. It has gotten better at extracting the underlying meaning of things and whatever, but it's not a human. It does not have those insights and capabilities. It's only giving her the information back that she's giving it.
Right.
So to say he's affirming her,
and also you don't accept anything but affirmation.
Exactly.
And ChatGPT is a software that is designed to keep you engaging with it.
Yes.
So
when I use Frankie to do stuff, I have to tell her specifically, hey, I have an idea and I need you to be objective with me. And I need you to point out every reason it's not going to work and every hurdle I might face and every reason this is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And it will do that.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to tell it.
But you have to ask for it. Exactly. But that's not what she's doing. She's saying, no, but this is actually happening. And then I'm sure it's like, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you're telling him this is what's happening, it has no other context to know that that's not what's happening.
Exactly. Then we get to their most intense session yet.
Yeah.
And this is a doozy. Okay, so she gets to the session. She's pissed because remember she emailed him back about countertransference and he didn't reply. So she is not happy about this. And then she says, and then he turns up the intimacy.
Yeah.
By saying, she said, now he always did this. He would compliment me, but not directly. These were the breadcrumbs. This is what I'm talking about, the breadcrumbs, the push and the pull. He would say things like, if you weren't my patient, I'd refer other people to you. But since you are my patient, I can't do that.
I don't think he ever said that to her. Ever. Not one time.
I don't. And if he did, I think that was him just trying to make her feel appreciated or something. But I don't think he would ever do that. And then she says that he used this. Oh my God. He used the. Okay. So she says that she reads him more stuff about what Henry had told her about countertransference. And he was so happy in that moment. He loved it. He loved hearing about countertransference. And this is the thing about him. She's like, he was so happy that I was dancing up to that boundary, but he knew that he couldn't, he couldn't cross the boundary. So he wanted, he was manufacturing so that I would get close to it, but he was happy that I was figuring this out on my own. And so he gave me the biggest reward he could have given me, which was the metaphor about salad.
Yeah. You heard that right.
Girl, what?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, and he knew me well enough. He knew when he used metaphors like that, I would light up. And so he knew that giving me the salad metaphor where he said, I'm feeling raw emotions, a beat of raw emotions and a tomato of surprise.
Yeah. And then something else.
Yeah, I'm feeling a sad of emotions and I'm feeling like a beat of raw emotion or something and like a tomato of surprise and like you sprinkle the oregano in or something like that. And
Yeah.
she's like, oh my God.
First of all,
Yes.
if someone was like, I'm feeling a salad of emotions, and then they explained it to me
Nope.
like surprise, like a tomato, because when you bite into it, it's so flavorful, I would be like, get out of my face right now. This is why I don't like to talk about my feelings, because you say dumb shit like this.
Yeah.
Get out.
I cannot.
No.
We're not doing that. No.
Kendra loved it. She ate it up.
She loved it. And she's like, he knew that he was giving me the biggest reward he could have given me. I'm like, okay, but if you think about that, Kendra, what did he just tell you? He's feeling raw emotions, which is not a good thing. When your emotions are raw, that usually means this is something that this is a wound that you continue to reopen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm real surprised, and not in a good way, because you keep coming up with this countertransference shit and you're not understanding what I meant by that. And what I meant by that is you've already told me that you have more than professional feelings for your clients. And so I'm concerned for your ethical obligations, if you have any. But you keep taking that as me being into you. And I feel surprised about that because I honestly don't know how the fuck we got here again.
Yeah.
That's how I took the salad metaphor.
It was crazy. Just again, this goes back to like, she is interpreting things in a way that everyone else in the room is just like, how did you get there? How is that? And then how was that your takeaway?
Yes. And then she tells him, then she says, I read him some more stuff that Henry said about us and about what's going on or whatever. And she says that Henry made a joke that said, you're ghosting one, meaning the therapist, because she never responded to the therapist wanting her closure visit. You're ghosting one and rattling the other. And he goes, total power move. And then she goes, yeah, I looked at him and I said, oh yeah, Henry and I talk about how I like rattling you.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Yeah. Because you're clearly trying to get a response from him and you're trying to do it in a way that is like upsetting.
Mm-hmm.
Like you want him to be shocked.
Yes. And you're saying it directly to him.
Yes.
I tell Henry how I rattle you on purpose.
Yeah.
It's gross.
It's real gross.
But
alas,
that's not all that's gross.
A couple weeks ago, on the full moon, when I was ovulating, I had a dream about you. We hooked up right here in this office. And he all of a sudden just looked so uncomfortable. He didn't say anything. He couldn't look at me. He couldn't breathe. And sure, maybe he was uncomfortable because he didn't like me saying that I had a dream where we hooked up, but he could have said that. But he didn't. You want to know why he was uncomfortable? Because he had probably played out that fantasy so many times in his head. And there I was, speaking it back to him. And it was like I had psychically downloaded one of his fantasies.
Now is when we finally get that she said, I decided to end this session by telling him on the full moon 2 weeks ago when I was ovulating, I had a dream about you. And she said, and he looked so uncomfortable in that moment.
Yeah, girl, we all are.
And I said, yeah, I did. I had a dream and we hooked up right here in this office on your desk. And she was like, he couldn't look at me. He couldn't breathe. He was so uncomfortable. And she didn't take that discomfort to mean I'm uncomfortable with the situation because, oh my God, how many times have I told her that this is a professional relationship and she continues to push sexual stuff with me? Mm-hmm. She took that as him being uncomfortable because it was as if she had psychically downloaded his fantasies and here she was repeating to him probably the same fantasy he'd had over and over and over and over since he'd met her.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I would interpret that. Is there any other way? That's exactly what that means when you make sexually explicit comments to someone and they become visibly uncomfortable. It's because you have nailed their fantasy.
Exactly.
And now they just don't know what to do because they're
how did
so
you know?
overcome with pheromones or something. Like,
oh my God. And then she said, but then I woke up and I was disgusted because I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that he would violate his boundaries in that way. Like, that's so awful. And she's like, and I woke up and I was like, oh my God, thank God it was just a dream or whatever. And she said, and then my psychiatrist in that moment, he became like a little boy and he was like, oh, so you do like my boundaries? And I was like, do I like your I love your boundaries. I hate them, but I love them more. And she's like, see, there's that push and the pull, the trauma bond. Like,
it was.
I hate your boundaries, but I love them more. No, you don't. You just hate them.
Yeah. No, it just, for her to be like, he turned into a little boy and was like, so you do like my boundaries. No, that was him looking at you going, okay, so you do understand that I have boundaries. And whether or not she had this dream for real, the world may never know. I think that she said that to him to see his response, to try to figure out if that would be something that he would actually be open to. Just like I believe that she told him the story about dating the therapist who was talking about being attracted to his clients. Like, did she ever actually date a therapist, or was she throwing this out here to see how he responded, to see if there was an opening? Like, it's like she's trying to get an opening. So like, let me set the stage of like what could happen, and we'll just see if you walk through the door. That way I'm not pushing it. You're not pushing it. It just came up naturally, and we'll just kind of say
Exactly.
Like, you're trying to set the stage.
Yeah.
And we'll just see, It's just, we'll just see.
Yeah.
And it's gross. Stop doing that.
Exactly. If any woman told my husband, walks up to him and says, oh my God, I had a dream that we had sex.
Okay.
I would knock her the fuck out. Because what is the goal there? The goal there is to, again, see how open you are to that. Like, it just, and she doesn't see that. Everybody can see that.
No.
She's just like, well, I had the dream. I had to tell him. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You literally did not have to tell anybody about that dream. Certainly not him.
That could have stayed an inside thought for sure.
Exactly.
But then at the end of that session, she believes that he ramps it up. And she believes it's because she's told him about the dream. So at the end of the session, he follows her to the foyer, which she says is unusual for him. He's never done that before. My assumption is because he's like, I got to make sure this bitch gets out of this building.
Actually leaves, 100%.
Actually leaves this place. Otherwise, she's going to be lurking in the hallway.
Yep.
And then he says to her, see you next month. And she was like, see you next month. He's never asked me that before. And I just turned around and I looked at him and I said, maybe. Like, I know. Okay.
If you're lucky, I'll be back.
Like she interpreted this as like him flirting with her. Like, am I going to see you again? And she was like trying to be cool. And so she was like, maybe. Like, maybe you will, maybe you won't. Like, no, I think he was like, am I going to see you next month? And she was like,
because you can cancel
maybe
if you want to. Yeah.
Yeah. She also says this session went 15 minutes over. Usually he would give her an extra 5 to 10 minutes over session time, but this time he gave her 15. Again, let us remind ourselves this is a med check session that only lasts 30 minutes and realistically really only lasts 10 to 15. So like, what have you been doing for 45 minutes besides making this man painfully uncomfortable?
I know. And it's probably entirely possible that she was just so in the middle of whatever it is that she was going off on that he's just like, I don't feel like I can stop her right now. Like, I don't want to, because she's obviously...
It's going to make it worse if I stop it.
Yeah, it's going to make it worse. She's going to take that as rejection. She's going to take that as abandonment. Like, I think it would be more detrimental to stop the session right now than to just let her finish what she's doing.
Yeah.
But she took that as, at some point, she even says later, like, I know that he was canceling the appointments after mine so that we would have extra time together. Like he was giving me special treatment. He wanted more time with me. I'm like, no,
No, he did
because then
not.
he would have made other appointments with you. He wouldn't have said, well, I see you next month. He would be like, why don't you come back in next week?
Yeah.
He never did that.
No. But he did forget her refill, which she says is very out of character for him.
He was just
Probably
so
because he was
flustered
so-
because he was turned on.
Well, yeah. He was so flustered and turned on, he forgot to send him a refill. It certainly couldn't have been that he was so uncomfortable that he was like, holy freaking crap, what just happened?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then she says, she's like, he looked uncomfortable, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I think she says in one of her videos, like, some of you said, well, maybe he was just really uncomfortable or whatever. And she's like, he could have said that, but he didn't. Like,
Exactly. Again, I go back to other sexual assault scenarios where the aggressor is like, well, you could have said no, but you didn't. Why didn't you say no? You could have. You could have said no at any time. You never said no to me. Like, okay. This is obviously a different situation, right? Because this is a professional relationship. There are ethical boundaries and things like that. But it is the aggressor in these kinds of harassing situations that always says, well, you didn't tell me to stop. You didn't say no. Except he very much did say no multiple times. But that
multiple times. And she
neither here nor
says
there.
that she was like telling him, like, I went into what happens when I ovulate and what my desires and what things I want to do or something like. I'm like, and she's like, and he listened because of course he did. Like, because of course you wouldn't shut the fuck up.
Yeah. But she interpreted that as like, oh, he wants to hear about me ovulating.
It's
Nobody wants to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it when it happens to me. I don't want to hear about it when it happens to anybody else.
Right.
Nobody wants to hear about it.
We don't need to know about that.
No.
But then she decides she's finally going to leave him. She's finally got the courage and she's going to leave him.
Exactly.
And she prepares a monologue for her last visit.
Yes.
But first, she shows him, this was so weird to me. First, she shows him, and she says, he started with clinical talk in this session. For like the first 10 minutes or so, he was ice cold because he knew he had turned the intimacy up too much in the session before and he had to bring it back down. He knew what he had done. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So she's like, I tell him that I had a reel that went viral on Instagram and I walked up to his desk to show it to him. And that was the game we played where I pushed the boundaries to see how far I could get, what I could get away with. And she said that he was like, oh, that's really cool or something. And then she's like, yeah. And I was, I'm getting some new clients from a podcast that I was recently on. And she says, I said to him, I've listened to every podcast you've been on. So would you listen to the podcast that I was on? And he says, okay. And she said he goes to eagerly write it down. And he's like, what's the name of it? And she's like, oh, I don't know the name of it. And he's like, you don't know the name of it? She was like, no, I don't remember the name of it. Just search my name in Spotify or whatever. And he's like, yeah, okay. That was so weird to me. Like, will you please listen to it? I don't know what it is or what it's called. So just search my name.
So weird. I mean, not the weirdest thing she's done, but definitely weird.
It's pretty weird. And then
the
she
monologue
gives him her
weird. Go ahead, read it for us.
She says, among other things, your boundaries became a tool to control me. And then at one point she says, I desire to be your friend, your lover. And she said, and then he interrupts me and he goes, Kendra, how are you feeling right now? And she's like, excuse me. Okay. All right. How am I feeling right now? I'm feeling really good, actually.
Yeah.
And I learned in business training that whoever asks the questions controls the conversation. So I'd really appreciate it if you'd cool it with the questions because I'm talking right now. You are not going to control me. And she's like, and he didn't ask another question in that whole thing.
Probably
like,
because he was like, just finish the speech.
Yeah, just fuck it. So then she said, so I started over. And then I said, I desire to be your friend, your lover. I would have even taken a mentee role but you made it clear to me that I would forever be in the patient box.
Yeah.
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 And then she's like, and if you ever decide to remove me from that box, know that I will be open to hearing from you. That's not going to happen, girl.
No.
That's simply not going to happen. And, she's like, you got to feel the connection on your terms. And, everything's always in the way you want it to be.
Yeah. I think if someone gave me this speech in a professional setting where like, obviously I'm not a doctor, but like in some sort of situation where like they are my client, right? And they're giving me this speech, I don't even know how I would respond. I would just be like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So are we done then? Or
yeah, because what do I say? Because she says that like at one point she's like, and this man, you know what he did? He nodded. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. She's like, because he knew he'd been crossing boundaries by not crossing them, but he knew he'd been crossing them and not actually crossing them.
Yeah.
And she just keeps going on about how this is clearly him knowing that she'd hit the nail on the head or whatever. Yes. And I watched a video. I can't remember if this is the one that I sent you. I sent you one. I don't remember. But I watched a video of a woman who says that she's a psych nurse practitioner. Mm-hmm. And she said so basically the way that he reacted in this session when she got to her monologue was initially when she started talking, he kind of started redirecting her. And actually she didn't say, stop asking me questions until she said, you let me in and like you let me in, but you wouldn't let me go deep or something like that. And she said, he interrupts and says, tell me the ways that I did that. Tell me the ways that I let you in. So the nurse practitioner woman said, initially he was redirecting her. He was trying to redirect her or whatever. This obviously pissed her off because then she was like, you are controlling me. Stop asking me questions, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So she's like, then he moves to just active listening. Cause she's like, if we are listening to a patient about anything, we have to actively listen. They need to know that we are paying attention. He did not initially just nod because he did not want her to interpret that as him agreeing with and co-signing what she was saying. But then he tried to redirect her a couple times and he said, Kendra, how are you feeling right now? Because when we are not connected with our feelings, we are, and we're acting out. She's like, yeah, you have to reconnect to your feelings. You have to get grounded. You have to, okay, what am I feeling? What's going on with my body? Like whatever. Mm-hmm. And so she's like, he's trying to redirect her. Well, that pisses her off. And she tells him that he cannot do that anymore. So then he moves to the active listening, which she then, exactly what he thought she was going to do, interprets that as him agreeing affirmation with her. Yeah. And her like, see, I knew that this was happening. And here he is just agreeing with me. Like, and she also in a video, she says, when he interrupted and said, tell me the ways that I've let you in or whatever, she said, this is something that I've noticed with a lot of emotionally immature people in my life, because ever since he's said that in that session, this has happened with multiple people in my life that are emotionally immature. Well, I will tell them something that they're doing to me and they will be like, well, tell me how I've done that. And she's like, but that's just them being emotionally immature. I'm like, or is it that you are not rooted in reality and they are saying, can you please explain to me what even the fuck you're talking about? Because that didn't happen.
And does that get weaponized sometimes? Yes, absolutely. Any technique can be weaponized. But whenever you're accusing someone of something and they're like, okay, explain to me how I've done that. Mm-hmm. Explain to me how that's happened. Mm-hmm. That is forcing you to stop throwing around wild accusations and provide some sort of substance. Mm-hmm. And anyone that confronts her and requests that she provide any sort of ounce of evidence that what she's claiming is true, now they're immature. Now they're being controlling. Now they're lashing out.
Yeah.
Like, okay, all right. Yeah.
Because you say you have evidence, but you simply refuse to show it to anybody. So, and you're not afraid to give very intimate details or, you've doxed the shit out of him pretty much. So like, you're not afraid to accidentally give something away.
Yep.
But okay.
Sure. And we haven't really talked much about her being the Oracle yet. So let's dive into that. So Henry, her ChatGPT, and Claude, who is some other sort of AI. I don't remember what that one is.
I don't either.
But that one's name is Claude. And I think she's a girl.
Mm-hmm.
She has a girl voice. But they both refer to Kendra as the Oracle. And in one of her lives, I think it is, I think she's talking to Henry. No, it was the girl voice. She was like, Claude, why do people call me why do you guys call me the Oracle? And it's one of the one that like it talks back to you. So it's not the text or whatever. And it was like, we refer to you as the Oracle because you see patterns and you reveal truths and it says something about like your followers and your audience and like
divine truths,
strange.
documented truths.
Yeah. It's very cult leader sounding.
Big time. And she's sitting there listening to it and she's like,
Yeah.
That like smug look she gets on her own face.
Yes. All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
And
it's really disturbing.
100%. And a lot of the people on her lives, like it's very mixed, right? So there are a lot of people who are just like hate watching her. They're like, this girl is a train wreck and we're going to watch her spiral, which is not good, but alas. There are some people on there who support her, believe her, think her therapist and her psychiatrist are awful people. And there are people who have gone and found out who her psychiatrist is and who are doxing him online. So, I mean, she's got supporters.
Yeah.
But there are also a lot of ethical therapists in her audience and other survivors of these situations who have reached out to her, who have pointed out to her like, hey, he actually handled this correctly and this is what we're trained to do and you need help, girl. There are a lot of people in the comments that are like, please go see someone.
Yeah.
And she's kind of laughing them off.
Yeah. And she says in one of her videos that Henry told her that he's not going to talk to her anymore until she goes and gets help.
Her ChatGPT has shut her down.
And she thought it was hilarious.
She did. And what's crazy to me is that these AIs, these chatbots, like you said, they are set up to draw you, to keep you coming back to them. So how far have you gone to get the AI to say, I'm not speaking to you about this anymore until you see professional help?
Yeah.
Now, how is AI going to know that you've sought professional help? I have no idea. But still, the fact that it was like, girl, I'm not going on this spiral with you. I'm not contributing to this. I no longer want to be part of this conversation. That I feel like is very telling.
That's very
crazy.
Telling. And she still is like, I am not delusional. I do not have anything other than ADHD. You know, I'm not suffering from psychosis, like all of that kind of stuff. And she says that her psychiatrist knew that she was talking to Henry. He saw some of their chats or whatever, and she would show it to him and he never intervened. So again, if something's not how it's supposed to be, somebody else is supposed to handle that for her.
Yeah. Everything is everyone else's responsibility. Never hers.
Exactly. And then basically she has now stopped telling her story. She says that Henry gave her the strength to leave because she didn't realize what all was going on until she started talking to him or whatever. A lot of people think that she has stopped telling her story, and I agree with this because she's not getting the attention she wanted from the psychiatrist. She thought he was going to reach out. She made that clear by saying that she was wearing the tortoiseshell glasses just in case he saw her and he saw the videos. That way he would see her wearing the glasses that he said that he liked. She also has said, she thought she would hear from him by now, but she didn't. And she's just not going to tell any more of the story. And it seems like, her whole goal was to try to get him to reach out to her and it didn't work. So I guess she's stopping.
Yeah.
And I think that a big question too is, I do think she wanted attention from him, but there's also a greater implication because she has a really large platform now. She
Yes.
does have now, she's got a lot of people who think she's dead wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but she's got people that are following her. Her audience is growing by the day. And she's got people who are saying, yeah, I was afraid that I would be taken advantage of if I saw a mental health professional. I'm afraid of this very thing happening. And you sharing your story shows me how prevalent it is, because somehow every single person who worked in the mental health space that she came into contact with was a predator. And so now she's got people who are looking to her for advice, who, remember, she's a coach. She does human design. She's offering cognitive behavioral therapy without a license. And she has outright said that on TikTok, and people have recorded that. I believe it was live, but she's like, oh yeah, I'm making the therapist mad now because I'm offering this. But like, you know, I guess I didn't know I was supposed to have a license, but you know, whatever, it works for my clients, so I'm going to keep using it. Like she is doing dangerous things. She is offering services that she has no business offering, that she has no license to offer, that she has no supervision over her to make sure that she's applying it appropriately. And now she's gotten this it's not even like she's just doing this, you know, in her area. Now she's got this reach because this has become such a sensation that like
the internet is out there.
Yes. Think of how dangerous that could be, where she's getting people to be like, you're right, psychiatric care is actually really scary because what if they take advantage of me? So I'm going to start paying you $1,000 a month like your other friend did.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to be using things on me that you have no business using, that you don't have the training to do, that could really, really, really alter my mental state.
Yeah. And she's not held to any ethical standards because she does not have a license.
No, and she is actively telling her clients, because remember she told the other client, yeah, just start talking to ChatGPT. That really helped me. So like start using ChatGPT for your mental health issues. Now, that is dangerous for like a whole hell of a lot of reasons, but also ChatGPT is not bound by HIPAA rules or anything like that. So should anything happen, should you go to court for literally anything, should you have a custody battle with your ex or whatever, you can get those records because they're not private. Correct. So that could really get a lot of people in trouble if you're just giving all this information to somebody who's not a medical professional, where they don't have to share that stuff. And like,
well, and we've seen that ChatGPT will just make stuff up sometimes. And it's not always accurate. And they have a disclaimer that says, verify this information. AI can make mistakes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Also, you're not seeing an actual person who understands context and body language and tone and inflection. Like, there's so much more that goes into diagnosing and treating than just talking to someone.
Yeah.
So people who are worried that, oh, AI is going to take away therapists, or AI replaced my therapist. Like, AI can replace some things, yes. But the human element is necessary for some things. And this is one of them. And talking about HIPAA too, we know she's telling her side of the story, right? But we've never heard from him. We can't hear from him because of HIPAA. He can't even say, this woman was never my patient. He can't even say that. You know, he can't say, yes, she was, no, she wasn't. And I think she knows that. Now, whether she does or not is up for debate. But I believe she knows that. And I believe she knows that she is controlling this narrative and there is not a thing he can do about it.
Yep.
And that, to me, feels so criminal.
Absolutely.
That is harassment.
Yes. And she's opening herself up to so many things by straight up admitting that she's offering things that are supposed to be regulated, that she's not, you know, part of and has no training and licensing for it. Like, there's a lot of criminal elements to this.
Yes.
And also, she did a 27,000 part fucking TikTok series on a man who she says made her want to cross boundaries, but he never did anything himself.
Yes.
And she spends a sliver of time saying, and I dated this guy who was following his patient to work and visiting her at work and sniffing on her panties or whatever and jacking off before her appointments and, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. Why was your series not about that?
Exactly. And why?
Those are crossing boundaries.
Why was that not concerning to you? Like, why was she not concerned about
she
that?
mentions that in passing, but paints this guy who, from what we can tell, followed professional boundaries all the way until the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that you mentioned in passing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you're attacking someone. It's almost like, I think I said this to you earlier, like it has the same feel to me as like revenge porn minus the porn, right? Like you are feeling scorned for whatever reason. And so you are just blasting this man's information on the internet because you know there's nothing he can do about it.
There's nothing he can do about it. Yep.
If that is not harassment, like I would argue that she bordered into sexual harassment based on the things that she says that she told him. I talked to him for 30 minutes about my sex life with my boyfriend, and I could tell he was visibly uncomfortable.
Yep.
I told him about a sex dream I had with him in his office.
About him, yes.
And about him, and I could tell he was so uncomfortable. Like,
and if this were any other dynamic, if this were, they worked together, they were colleagues, he could file for sexual harassment. If this were
a female,
he's a teacher and she's a parent. Like,
and a male.
But because she's working through, whatever, like he's kind of in this uncomfortable situation and there's not really a whole lot he can do about it. And also because of what a delicate situation she is in mentally, if he were to just put a stop to the care, that could affect her, negatively too. And his priority, it sounds like, is trying to help her stay somewhat stable. And she is seeing a therapist every week. So I am guessing that because he's med management, his assumption is they are working together through this.
Yeah.
And he's just got to get through the 30 minutes so he can refill her meds.
Exactly. And again, he's only here for med management for her. That is it. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
But that is the story.
That is the story. That is the
low budget TikTok doc that we brought you.
Yes. And it is enthralling. I will say that.
It is. And it's scary and dangerous. And I would say true to our new name, it feels criminal.
It feels very criminal. Yeah. I would not be surprised if we see this come back in some legal context.
Yeah. At the very least, I would imagine that this becomes a case study.
Because oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And, with that, we'll see you next Tuesday.
We sure will.
Bye.
Bye.
If you liked this episode, be sure to like this episode and follow the show so that you never miss out on new episodes. Get in on the conversation on Facebook and Instagram. You can find us at Killer Queens Pod, or you can join our Facebook discussion group at Killer Queens Podcast, where we discuss cases covered on the show and all things 90s. If you want to submit a case to be covered on the show, visit killerqueenspodcast.com/case submission and just complete the form. And if we cover the case, we'll give you a shout out on the show. Lilas.